welcome back to McFadden Family Homestead. My name is Samantha, and I'm so glad you have decided to join us today. And I really want to say hello to just so many of you. There's been a lot of new activity on our channel. We have had a lot of new subscribers just in the last 48 hours. Our most recent video that we titled Snowmageddon Pantry Challenge Week 3 has gotten a whole lot of views just in a short time. And I gotta be honest, that's really exciting. I'm really pumped up about that. And so many of you have taken a moment to share just an encouraging comment and what you enjoyed about the video. And so I'm really just thankful for that. Thank you for your words and your encouragement, and especially your time, the time that you've taken to watch our video. We really appreciate you supporting our channel and subscribing. It's been an exciting couple of days around here, and a couple of you commented how much you enjoyed the intro of the video with our pictures of our snow and things, and I just appreciate that a great deal. My husband actually plays all the music that you'll hear on our channel so that we don't run into copyright issues and things like that. So really glad that you're enjoying that. So I just wanted to do a little introduction for week 4's video, because there's not a whole lot of actual video footage of the cooking this week. We were back to school, back to life, back to work, back to all the things, and it was kind of a hectic week, and there wasn't a whole lot of time. We certainly did some cooking. We stuck to our plan, and we had a good time, and we've got some stuff for you, but there just wasn't a whole lot of time to just kind of set up to film in the kitchen. But this week, going into week 4, so when we were doing shopping for week 3, knowing that we had snow coming and things like that, was really, had a good plan, and was prepared. I had my daughter, whose favorite thing in life is ice cream. She would eat it every single day if she was given the option. Really wanted to have ice cream on hand. And so I had already spent my budget on the things, all the dairy and different things that I needed. But I went to the store and I bought $10 worth of ice cream. And so I thought, well, I'll just take that out of, the following week's budget. And then we needed coffee. So started asking myself questions like, is coffee part of this? Am I allowed to buy coffee? Kind of examining my own rules. We went ahead and we did buy coffee, which was like, I don't know, $17 in coffee, and was like, okay, now we're up to like $27 of our week 4's budget is already been used. We'll just take it out of that. And then in planning for week 4, and looking at it, and I was like, okay, I need to like nothing. I need to really pull from everything that we just already have on hand and not even worry about going to the store. But there was one thing that we needed that really was the key to our success. And it just is just an absolute staple for so many things, that if we're going to make bread and certain things from scratch, like, we've got to have these on hand. And that was eggs. I did have a great deal of eggs at the beginning of this challenge, and we went through them. They were all gone. And having that unexpected week of having to feed, people a week's worth of breakfast, really hit those eggs hard. So we did decide, okay, that's the one thing that we're gonna get. We just really need. We're gonna get eggs. And so we went to Walmart and we got the box of 60 eggs, which was about $10. So there was my, pretty much my 35 between the ice cream and the coffee and now the eggs. That was the budget for week 4. And I will confess that at the beginning of this week on Sunday, I love being home, but every once in a while I do need to be around like people. And so we ended up not going to church on Sunday morning because of the low temperatures that we experienced. Our hot water heater is out in the garage, and it just could not keep up. The water was barely warm because it was just so cold in the environment that the water heater was in, that it just could not compete. So we nobody could shower. We needed showers, so we didn't go anywhere Sunday morning. And so my daughter and I, we went out. We decided we were going to go thrifting. And as it turns out, our thrift stores actually aren't open on Sunday. So just kind of get out of the house and do something. We did just pop into Olive Garden. We had the soup, salad, and breadstick lunch, which was the cheapest, healthiest lunch that I could think of out. And after leaving, you know, tip and things, it ended up being like a $35 lunch. So there's my my budget for week 5. And what I kind of determined, you know, through all of this was just, you know, what I cared more about was the amount of money that I spent, not necessarily what I spent that money on. So we're now got 4 days for week 5 of Pantry Challenge ahead. And I had to, again, just pull in from what we have on hand using the last little bit of certain things. We still have a lot of things. We still have a lot of products, but there's a lot of things that I can't do because I'm like missing an ingredient or, you know, something of that nature. And then if I get creative and I think of something, you know, I'll do that. But I do have a plan for next week, but that's kind of how we were coming into week 4. Week 4 is all about just what did we already have? What can we put together with what we already have? And I had to do a couple of extra things this week as well. We had to make some food we had a band event, audition event in our area that my son was a part of, and our school was hosting the event. So I had to bring some dishes to feed the judges and stuff. So we pulled out I had some cubed up bread. I don't think I took pictures of this because I kind of did it in a hurry and in a scramble, but we made some French toast casserole and we made some muffins, and I discovered a new muffin recipe that was really good. They were actually orange cranberry muffins, but the base recipe, you can put whatever. So we'll have some footage of these beautiful, gorgeous muffins. These are actually pear and white chocolate with a little bit of ground ginger in them for flavor. And these are so good. This muffin recipe is really excellent, and I will definitely link that for you in the description. But just again, hello to all of our new subscribers. Thank you so much for following us on our journey, and we're just grateful for your time and your attention to our channel, and just the love and support that you've given us already. I hope you enjoy the video this week, and we'll see you next week. This was one of my lunches last weekend. This is ham and cheese, and it's got a mixture of apples, mayonnaise, and walnuts in the middle of it, and it's grilled like a grilled cheese. It sounds crazy, but it is delicious. And this had some pumpkin bread and some coffee. I think that was my breakfast Sunday morning. And then for dinner on Sunday night, we had a favorite meal. We call it Moto's. There's a Japanese restaurant in our town called Moto's, and we really enjoy, it's not quite hibachi, but it's a similar experience. So I had some zucchini I pulled from the freezer. These are some filet tips where we had a beef tenderloin roast for Thanksgiving. The little end pieces and stuff I cut up into filet tips to use for this right here. So we've sauteed the zucchini with a little bit of onion. The meat, I put salt, pepper, and I put soy sauce and a little bit of hoisin sauce. Just kind of sauteed those up. We had some jasmine rice going in the instapot, and when that all came out, this is the plate, and then we top it off with everybody's favorite yum yum sauce that just makes this dish, and it is absolutely a favorite. This is the last of my filet tips, which I'm very, very sad about, so hopefully I can find a really good deal maybe on some tenderloin here in the near future. This is a dish that we call cranberry chicken. It's the sauce that's on it is, it's an 8-ounce bottle of Catalina dressing. It is a can of whole berry cranberry sauce, and it's a packet of Lipton onion soup mix. And you mix that all together, and I pour it over the chicken, and I like to dice the chicken. Just makes it easier to eat that way. I put it in the oven and bake that together until the chicken's done, and then I make some noodles. I usually put Parmesan cheese and butter on the noodles, but I didn't have any Parmesan, so we just buttered them up, and it was absolutely fine. We didn't even miss it.
I am absolutely loving this new cookware. Look at these beautiful fried potatoes. I have not been able to make fried potatoes like this in a long time because my cookware just has not been any good. All the potatoes stick. And these were just absolutely fantastic. It was so nice to have crispy, golden brown, delicious potatoes. Along with those potatoes, we had put a pork shoulder roast in the Instapot. Just did a very basic seasoning on this: salt, pepper, garlic powder, some smoked paprika, and just put it in the Instapot that way, like rubbed the seasonings on it, put it in the Instapot with a cup of water, and it was done in an hour and 15 minutes, and it was just beautifully tender. It was so good. I couldn't believe how well the Instapot did this piece of roast meat. It was just fantastic. To round out the meal, we had just a can of French green beans, and then we had put some of our liquid gold barbecue sauce on top of the pulled pork. Wednesday was a very busy day, and this is the only picture that I got of our Sloppy Joe meal. I had pulled this prepared Sloppy Joe meat out of the freezer. It makes for a really quick meal, but I actually did make some homemade hamburger buns, which you'll see here a little bit later. We used what was left of those for a meal later in the week, but this was the only picture from Wednesday. We had meatball subs. One night, these are meatballs that I had made and cooked and froze. And then these are the hamburger buns that I had made, and I'll link this recipe because it was a really easy recipe to put together, and they really didn't take that long, and they were so soft. They were really wonderful. I would love to have these for hamburgers one night. This is my air fryer full of all the random bags of potatoes, frozen potatoes that I had in there, a little bit of tots, a little bit of Rally's fries and some steak fries. It was just a hodgepodge of whatever we had and cleaning those things out. So this is the meatballs. I made the sauce the same way that I did in our spaghetti video last week. I meant to take the buns off of the pan when I put them back in to melt the cheese, and I forgot, so they're a little more brown than I wanted. But that was our meal on this night. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to put together these just amazing muffins. There is flour and baking powder and baking soda in there, adding some sugar, and did not have my mise en place together, so I'm kind of running all over the place. I just decided to kind of turn the camera on the last minute. It's Saturday, I've got a little bit more time on this day, and so I can do a little bit more filming. So I'm just going to chop up, these are our home canned pears. They're in a light syrup, and I'm just going to dice them up. I'm going to dice them up pretty small. These were not super ripe whenever I canned them, so they're a little bit of a firmer texture. So I did want to make those pretty small, and then that's white chocolate chips that we're going to put in there, and I've got a little bit of ground ginger that I'm also going to add to it. These are really good. This flavor combination is one of my favorites. There's a tart recipe that I had that I made years ago, and I've done different things with this flavor combination. I've made a sweetbread with pear and white chocolate. It really just goes together really well. So I used the last of the yogurt that I had left, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to make this recipe, so that I can go ahead and use that up. And there was a couple of eggs and some olive oil, and then we're just going to mix that all up, and we'll get it in our muffin tins. Now that we've got them all in the muffin tins, I have some, I don't know what the name of this sugar is, but it's like a coarse ground sugar, and a lot of bakeries and stuff will put this on their muffins and things, that when they bake, it doesn't all dissolve. It kind of leaves like a crystallized kind of crunchy texture on the top of a muffin. And it's really delicious. I found it at a market, like a farmer's market, where my sister lives in coastal Virginia, and I've had that container for quite a while. So this is what they look like when they come out of the oven. They baked up perfectly in 20 minutes. They're very soft. When they come out, it is a very tender, it's a very tender pastry. It doesn't fall apart or anything. I had no problems getting these out of the muffin tins, as you'll see, but they feel kind of soft and almost a little squishy. And so when I first made them, I was afraid, even though my toothpick was coming out clean, that maybe they weren't done or something, but they absolutely are. And they just have a really there's just a really, really light and tender texture to this muffin recipe, and I really love it, and I will be using it more often and trying different add-ins and things with it because it's just so good. And here you can see up close in the finished product how that sugar, it doesn't really dissolve. It just kind of stays nice and crystallized and crunchy on top of the muffin. At lightning speed, we are going to make some homemade tortillas. There's flour, there's baking powder and salt, and then we're going to melt a stick of butter in a cup of water. And while it's still very hot, you're going to pour it into the flour mixture and mix up the dough. It's a very soft dough. I wasn't sure how long, to knead it for. I just kneaded it until it kind of looked, smooth to me. Maybe it could have been a little bit longer, but it sits for about 10 minutes like this, and then you come back and you portion it out into however many. It said the recipe was like, I think 8 to 12, 10 to 12 tortillas, but you can see how soft this dough is. And I pinched off portions and kind of rounded them out. Then we're going to put those back in the bowl and cover them up with some plastic for another 10 minutes before it's time. Here we're going to get ready to roll out the dough. It rolls out really easily. I did find, though, it was very hard to kind of get a circular shape rolling them out, and then so they were all, the first several were, just whatever kind of wonky shape I could roll it into, but it will roll very, very thinly, very easily. I did find later that with more flour on the table, I was able to control the shape a little bit better, and they actually cooked up a little bit better too. I was afraid that to overflour my table, because I have a tendency to do that sometimes, and then it kind of it has a negative effect on some doughs, but this actually wasn't so bad, and it was kind of like the more flour, the better it was, and the easier it was to roll into the shape that you were going for. Once you roll them out, you just lay them out in a dry, hot pan, and they cook up pretty quickly. They'll bubble. My pan wasn't very hot with this first one that we were doing, but as the pan got a little bit hotter, and I tried to keep it on an even sort of medium heat, but as the pan got hotter, they started to bubble up faster and cook. You'll see that they're starting to shrink up and cook a lot faster, and they get a little bit browner too on each side as we go along. And really, when we started making them with a little bit more, rolling them out with a little bit more flour on the table, they actually started to cook up even better at that time. And here is our finished plate of gorgeous homemade tortillas that everyone is now requesting always be made homemade. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to keep up with that, but we're sure going to try. So now we're going to make the meat mixture for our enchiladas. This is just some ground beef that I've thawed out, and I'm going to pull out some diced onions from the freezer and some diced green peppers from the freezer and add to it. For a little bit of heat, we're going to pull out a jar of our pickled Sugar Rush peach peppers. These are pretty mild. I mean, it gave a little bit of heat, kind of like in the back of your throat, but it was not unpleasant at all. It wasn't. I'm very sensitive to heat, and it wasn't too much for me. It actually added some really great flavor to this. So we're just going to chop these up kind of fine, kind of like you would get in a can of like diced green chilies. This is our replacement for that because we don't have any green chilies in our pantry currently. So it's going to give us that just a little bit of heat that every Mexican dish needs. Here we're putting together kind of a Mexican rice in the Instapot. So there's jasmine rice. I've got a 8-ounce jar of tomato sauce in there, a little bit of cumin, a little bit of chili powder. I didn't put any salt and pepper. I would probably do that the next time. I just stirred that all together, and so that's what it looked like when it started in the Instapot. It's actually cooked up pretty good. Some of the tomato solids were a little bit on the top, and so it just needed to be stirred around, but it worked really well. And it was just a mild, flavored rice. And so we're seasoning the beef. There's salt, pepper, and garlic powder already in there. And this is some chili powder. It's maybe like a teaspoon. This is only a pound of ground beef. So I'm going to put some cumin in there as well, probably about the same thing, about another teaspoon. So we've added our Sugar Rush peach peppers to the mixture. We're just going to give everything a good stir, and then we're going to go back to the Instapot, and we're going to get that all stirred up so that everything is now ready to start assembling our enchiladas. So pour just a small amount of sauce in the bottom of the pan, and just because I don't want things to burn or stick necessarily on the bottom. Just put a little bit of rice. It's probably not maybe a quarter cup in each. Like, these are not uniform sized tortillas by any means, so it's just kind of going with what I was working with. But we ended up and we got 7 enchiladas in this large pan, and out of that pound of ground beef. So that ended up worked out pretty good. And once we get them all rolled up and in the pan, I'm just going to pour the rest of the sauce on. If I had more sauce, I probably would have used it, but that was all that we had in-house. Just put that in the oven at 350, and I left it in there for about 25 minutes just to warm the sauce up and let everything come together. So this is the corn, and we talked about this corn before that we got from a market over the summer that we froze, and it's absolutely delicious. And this is our finished plate, and this meal went over 4 out of 4. Everybody gave it 5 stars. Can't wait to have it again, and probably be fighting over leftovers tomorrow. So thanks so much for hanging out and watching our video. Thank you again for all of your support to everybody that's new and watching us. And we hope you come back next week for Pantry Challenge Week 5 and final. Hope you have a blessed week, friends.